has no problem with us conducting a hearing, and then immediately proceeding to talk about the
drive from
ordinance and
Kansas
pass it.
City
And if you do that,
Colorado
then you can do
Springs
this, and then you can say, now,
I know,
let's
say, hey, you know what I'm talking
now
about.
let's
Yeah.
go
I mean,
to
you get
7.1 and consider
There's
an
nothing there till
ordinance
you get to Colorado
that
Springs.
we just had
Some
the
of it is,
hearing
you know,
on. For one thing, I think
almost
that
a
would
desert
be actually
landscape,
easier
too.
for
It's really,
everyone.
yeah, and of course,
So let's do it that
eastern
way.
Colorado's not too grand either.
You might, if you want to, you might just say,
Same,
absent.
You think about
at the very
Colorado
beginning
being such a
of that,
beautiful
say,
state,
absent
you know,
objection,
they do have that, but
having a hearing and then
parks
the
aren't anything,
matching
not very
ordinance,
picturesque.
and then and going that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, how are they gonna fix?
It's the legal description by the railroad track.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Let's call the meeting to order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we're all here.
Looks like a full house. Oh, yeah, Derwin.
Derwin. 6 of us are here. Derwin should be running late. Item number 2, at the Commissioner's request, discuss any item of concern on the regular session agenda of August the 1st, 2017. Hearing none. Item 3, discuss the city attorney job description and hiring process.
Mayor, what this is really in response to what you guys requested at the last meeting was an opportunity to discuss how you want to go about hiring the city attorney, the permanent city attorney. I have given you copies of the job description. I think hopefully you've had a chance to review those. What I'm understanding right now is that, absent any guidance from you, what you're wanting is for us to revise the job description based on the changes that you may have, and then post the position for a certain period of time, put it in appropriate law journals, OML, anywhere it needs to be to attract potential municipal attorney applicants. And when those applicants come in, give those applications to you guys. We'll end up having a meeting where you would go into executive session, interview those candidates, and then potentially make a decision at some point at some subsequent meeting. That's kind of what I'm anticipating that you would want, but this is the opportunity to talk about the job description and talk about the hiring process and what you really want.
That process sounds right to me.
Yeah. Have you ever looked at the job description to the point where you want to change anything?
Well, I only noticed one thing that I'd like to add. Under performance measures, it lists several characteristics that are desired, but there's none that really talk about timeliness or meeting suspenses, and I think that's one of the issues that we had previously. So I'd like to see that in there some way. I don't know what the language is, but I think it is an important consideration.
Mayor, I've got a couple of items that I would like to suggest that we talk about adding to the job description. This is probably not well worded, but I think you'll get the idea. I would like to see us add something about wearing attire to all official city meetings that would be the type of attire you would wear to court. I feel like in some cases, some of the city staff gets a little too casual for, a formal public meeting. And I think we need to set that out in advance. Just my suggestion. And the other thing is, and this probably is something that we could assume from the way the job description is worded anyway, but maybe clarify it a little bit. It provides, the city attorney provides legal advice to the city commission that is accurate and protects the best interest of the city.
Well, kind of a given, isn't it?
Well, it should be, but
Should be.
I don't, I don't know, maybe it'd be of some benefit to restate it. Probably is covered in there, but just...
I feel like the job description is adequately, I think it does a good job describing what we want, and that frankly, it's going to be, when we look at the applicants for the permanent position, I think there will be an assumption that this would, I mean, we would only hire somebody who can meet these goals. And in that, you know, to the best of the city's ability manner. I'm not. think
I
it
guess one thing
describes the job.
that I was certainly in reviewing the job description, that I've always had, it's been my impression that the city attorney, maybe first and foremost, works for the city commission and is our legal advisor. And I realize that she does a lot of other things too. But the city commission only has 2 employees, the city manager and the city attorney. And I just...
2 city judges.
And the judges, yes. But we don't do a whole lot with the judges either. But we do see a lot of the city manager and the city attorney. So maybe that's well enough stated in the existing job description. But
Well, we could make a few revisions that you guys have talked about, pass it back out to you. Once you're happy, we can get it posted. Is 30 days a reasonable time, or you think it should be, you want it 60 days, 45 days, 90 days? How long do you want it posted?
I think 30 days from the day you mail it. Is that,
I think that we may want to kick it down to 45 in part because some of the places where we will want this published only run things once or twice a month.
think about that?
And that if we do 45 days, we will capture, you know, the Bar Journal twice, we'll capture whatever OML does, I think. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll make these slight revisions you talked about, very slight, 45-day posting period, and put it in the appropriate journals, et cetera. Are there any specific places you want it? We'll put it in OML, we'll put it in, I'm sure there's
The Bar Journal.
Bar Journal.
Bar Journal. Is there any other appropriate place to advertise it? The newspaper?
We may
We'll
want
set out
to
normal
maybe,
channels.
I don't know,
Like the monster.com sites and stuff like that, or not really?
I think we are more likely to get a good candidate.
Bar Journal, probably.
Yeah, from the more traditional, likely someone who has a job and is interested in moving up, or less likely than somebody who's, I think we're less likely to be happy with somebody who's already job hunting. But I also expect that a phone call to the state bar, they are so great about
Okay.
providing lots of free information, and it may be one of those. They have folks down there, hey, we're interviewing for an attorney position, where else should we run it aside from the Journal? And they'll say, oh, try A, B, and C.
Okay, that's good to know.
I have
They're nice
I have a
folks.
question about the accrued vacation time. And I don't suppose that would be in the job description, but if it is, I think we need to look at that 45 days of accrued vacation over and above the 3 or 4 weeks that
Yeah,
they get now.
I had some suggestions there too, but I think that's more the contract with whoever the successful applicant or, yeah, that's something we think we
Just
do.
put it on the
But I
back burner.
agree.
As long as we put it on the back burner, don't forget to talk about it.
Yeah.
No,
You
I've
guys
got
will
some-
get to negotiate the terms with whoever the successful applicant is.
It's probably more detailed than the listing.
Yep. Good point.
And what did we say, 90 days or 180 days?
I think
45 days.
45.
No. The search time.
I
That-
think. Go ahead.
Well, I thought posting time was 45 days, and then we have another.
And then go from there. I think it's depending on who we get, what applicants we get, what kind of interest we get, what kind of scheduling we have to do.
What our normal process is, when we post a job, we put it out there for a period of time. In this case, it'd be 45 days. At the end of 45 days, we would take the applications that we have received. And my intent is to give copies of those to all 7 of you, and then schedule a public meeting at some point that you would probably go into executive session to interview them, and maybe multiple meetings to interview all of them, depending on the number of applicants, and then probably have a meeting at some point to make a decision.
Sure.
You guys talked about last time, we don't know exactly how long that will take. Sometimes we repost jobs. I don't know if this will be a case where you'll want to do that or not, but that'll be your choice and decision. That's why it was important, I think, when you hired Carol on an interim basis, that it's just on an interim basis until such time as you hire a permanent city attorney. So I don't believe there's any time limits.
Well, I think we run it for 45 days and then come back and see what response we have.
Right.
And that will dictate the next step.
Okay. Well, I think I'm clear on what I'm hearing. Is there any other feedback that you want to give us on how to do this process?
I don't care who wears a tie outside of the courthouse, but
I don't
I may
either.
be in the minority there.
I don't
It's
either.
self-evident, I
Well,
think.
I put mine on.
I know,
I never
Just-
thought
I know,
either
I
it
don't
was
care.
inappropriately dressed.
Anything else? Item 4, discuss the local street program. I'm sorry, Carol, did you get everything that
Yeah.
we need? Discuss the local street program. Robert?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Robert's going to talk about our proposed program, and we typically do this and talk with the commission about what streets we think are priority streets, get your feedback. Your feedback can adjust this list. So I also want to provide some information because I know it's important to all of us in the community to see how much money we've spent over a period of time on, the east side, west side thing. So we've done that. I appreciate the work staff's done, and Robert, I think you have a good presentation.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, City Manager. Yes, we're going to talk about the local street project. Also, I'm start off talking about the arterial street programs and how it fit into, how it went from that to the local street program. Couple of things. We basically have 2 street programs. These are for reconstruction and replacement, not necessarily maintenance, but for reconstruction and replacement. The arterial street program started in 1999. Prior to that, there was an overlay program that was in place at some times, depending on how the budget provided for it. But in '99, there was a visual inspection of all the arterial streets and a classification done, and then a plan to go in and try to reconstruct those and bring those up to a approved standard, and was anticipated about a 17.5-year life. 2000, 2003, the quarter-cent sales tax provided funding. Yes, about just under $1.3 million at that time. In the sales tax, and from '03 to '08, it was a quarter-cent sales tax for arterial streets. Since that date, again, they're funded as the Commission provides out of the general fund. I want to talk a little bit about federal aid urban projects where we deal with Department of Transportation, the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. They have a program that we've been able to get some projects through. They will anticipate provide about $750,000 for an improvement program or a widening program in arterial streets. More recently, they have moved it up to $1 million in grants, so it is getting, we have seen some growth in that in the last year. And then local streets. After the arterial street program, there was a local street program was started in about 2003. What the commission did was set aside or determine that the street and alley fund, which brings in just under $500,000 about that time, would be used for replacing reconstruction of local streets. And of course, that had to be augmented by general funds many years to make the program really advance. Presented a map here of the city of Enid, and what we show in black are the arterial streets that have been reconstructed or improved since 98, there, 98 to 2017. And in red are the arterial streets which are still left in the program to be improved. We are working on, we'll be talking about what's coming up, but I will point out on Chestnut, on East Chestnut, that was actually overlaid shortly before the program, so you can see it's later in the program, but it's time to reconsider that. And in Randolph Street, which is in the center there, Randolph Street was put up for a bond issue and that did not pass, so that was probably deferred based on looking at bond funds, which have not come to fruition. We also want to present the work done on the arterial streets in the last 5 years, and these are the projects that were done. What we show in blue are is Willow Road from Cleveland to Oakwood, which is under construction right now, and we show it in this project, as well as the intersection, which are the two to the left at Willow and Oakwood, which were done with Federal Aid Urban System. The other projects were done for the Street Improvement Program. You can see over that 5-year period, we've done a combination of the west side and the east side. It's about $7.5 million of investment. Some of that through state funds, but majority through the program. Okay. This is the detail of those streets provided you. Just lists the streets in the last 5-year program and the funding for those projects. And then this is the again a copy of the arterial street program. The projects that are a budget for this year. And in red we show 2 projects on Broadway. The east one is from 16th to University and being reconstructed and improved. The west one is actually a replacement of the water line. We're not doing the pavement this year, but we are relocating the water line for pavement replacement to anticipate next year. And in the blue is on Cleveland, Chestnut and Air North, and is the Cleveland Chestnut and the Cleveland Boulevard project, which are scheduled to be awarded by the Oklahoma Department of Transportation this year.
Robert, go back one slide, please. Is that the city of Enid's expense, or what happens with the Department of Transportation monies that come in?
Yeah, what I've shown here is the city of Enid expense. So on Oakwood Whittle intersection, this was that $992,000 is our cost. There's about $750,000 additional dollars in that project to make that intersection improvement.
From
On
ODOT?
Willow and Oakwood intersection, the top of the list on the west side, and Willow Road, Cleveland to Oakwood, just for the bottom, there's about another $750,000. If you want the total project cost, you got to add about the ODOT's cost.
So the total project,
These are city of Enid costs.
total project's $3 million for the city of Enid.
Yeah.
The 962 and the 1,998,
Right.
plus
Correct.
another
Those 2 projects, that's correct, Mayor.
$1.5 million or so from ODOT.
Just under $1.5 million, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? And that's the current year's budgeted program in Arterial Street. We want to talk about the local street program, which certainly has a major impact across the city. We have a lot more local streets than we do have arterial streets. The arterial streets, we usually do mill and overlay, and we can bring those back up for a 17-year life. Local streets are harder to get back to that frequency, so we try to do a more permanent improvement that lasts a much longer period of time. Again, I want to show you a map of the city of Enid, and these are local streets that we presented from 2002 to 2015, scattered throughout the city, that were done or under contract at that time. I want to give that impact of what has been done. This is the last 5 years program on local streets, shown divided at Van Buren in the center in the yellow line. And you can see we're about $1.6 million to the east and about $500,000 to the west on the local street project. This is the detail list of those streets I've done over the last 5 years, and these costs involved with those programs. I do have Elm Street, at the bottom there, Elm Street 15th Street to 16th was done by Public Works, so we don't show an actual contract dollar for that, but it was improved for the Public Works department, so just want to point that out. Local street program for 17-18. Engineering works with the operating department, street department on developing, they actually develop a list of the streets that are need repair based on their visual inspection and their work. They're out in the field on these streets. They have come up with a list of 34 streets we've identified on this map throughout the city for priority repair needs. And that looks good for needs, but let's talk about what we can do. What we show in red here is what, after meeting with operating departments and going through the priorities, the selected road street for consideration, for your consideration for improvement in the local street program this next year. See where they're scattered out. Our next slide is actually the list of those 34 streets and the improvement dollars we anticipate for making those improvements. And these are reconstructions, and also include placing sidewalks, because we reconstruct these streets. We do add, at least they say, ADA access route as part of the project. What we've highlighted in yellow here are the streets that are anticipated, selected based on the funds available and to meet the funds. Actually, the budget is $1.5 5 million. If you see on the far right over there, we've got the total, the running total of these projects, and we're at 2.3 million, so we've identified more streets than the budget identified, but we would propose to go after, to develop plans, improvements on that list of streets, and then to take the bids and determine how far, that gives us feel to see how far, if we get good bids, you know, maybe we get close to doing the most of these streets. If we bids come in a little high, then we'll probably get the first 3 or 4 or so. Again, this is the location of the streets as identified or as selected from staff and working with the operating departments on the conditions and the needs. That's the presentation. With that, I'd be glad to try to answer questions or take any discussion.
How much do you spend on, or how much do we have budgeted rather for the pothole repair that's separate and distinct from this? I mean, we have
We do have some money for pothole repair. I don't have that answer
Okay.
right now, but we can get it. We probably have it, probably by the time I go upstairs. Do you already know the answer, Aaron? Okay, we will get the answer.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I don't have.
We do have some money in the street department for things like pothole repair. We also have money for unimproved road work.
Just trying to get a whole picture of
Okay.
everything we spend on.
I think we can probably have that answer by the time we get upstairs, probably.
Robert, one question I've got, it pertains to Hayes Street. Hayes Street is not in my ward, but every time I go down the street, a section of it where it's widened there, just south of Gary, the street has sunk dramatically, and I mean, almost to the point, I think, of being dangerous, and I don't know whether there's any plans to rebuild that section or not, but I think it needs to be put on the list anyway.
At the real wide Hayes Street.
Yes, yes.
Do you know the approximate location
Hayes
on
from
Hayes? Is it north of
Oak to
Route?
Walnut is
Oh.
down here, but we'll certainly inspect that, and there are certainly a lot more needs and
Oh, yeah.
addressed it here, but
We tried.
they were able to classify it down to at least give us a list that we could start to work on.
About a block south of Gary.
Yeah.
Hayes.
Yes. I think I know where you're talking about.
Extra wide by Pembroke Square.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's probably,
by the-
as I recall,
by
it's
the
PC
pizza
Concrete
place.
Street, based south of here. We'll take a look at it, it may need some pavement repairs, some maintenance.
Something's causing it to really drop there.
I think there's probably a sewer line or a water line there. I know we've patched it before, and it's apparently getting worse, it sounds like. So we can always address those with funds that we have available. And we have a concrete crew that can address some of those issues and have addressed them before. So we'll take a look at that one specifically.
Is there a cap on the bids that you get in, that come in from different contractors? And is there an expense cap as far as, you know, if someone comes in with an extremely high bid, what would you do if like 3 of them were very, very high beyond what you would estimate the project to cost?
Okay. We would bring those to the commission, and the commission have the ability to reject those. Typically, they're competitive bids, so you go out and we bring, and we get bids from the contractors, and the lowest responsive bid, the one who meets the specs, meets requirements, and is the lowest bid, is the bid to be presented and recommended for approval by this commission. However, there is some flexibility. We bid by unit prices, and if a contractor overloads the unit price, unbalanced the bid, puts a high price on an item that shouldn't be, then we would point that out and bring that to the commission, and may suggest that you reject that bid because it's unbalanced. That's certainly a fair requirement. But there's no, contractors are open to bid the projects as competitively as they can, and then if we have high bids that we can't afford or can't select, and we've done that. We brought them back to the commission and rejected bids and asked the authority to re-advertise. So that's the way that would be addressed.
And what would happen in the case if a contractor came in and underbid it, I mean, just way too low? Would you yourself or anyone in the department kind of get with that contractor and say, hey, I think you're a little bit too low, or would you just see if they can survive it, or what?
in those cases have occurred, we would get back to the contractor and make sure that they are good with their bid, that they feel good and comfortable with their bid. However, we cannot reject their bid. I think that if that occurred, the contractor would have to come before you as a commission and request that the bid be rejected. Now, on these bids, contractors provide a bid bond, 5% of the bid, so contractor always has it out. He may not enter the contract, but he's going to forfeit 5% of the bid if he doesn't enter the contract, or he's not released by the commission. But yes, we have seen bids come in low, and we've got back with contractors and made sure they understood where they were at, what the bid was, and what they're going forward with. But sealed bids, when they are provided, they are binding bids, and staff cannot release them. They will not.
What happens if they have subcontractors in that bid? We've had some problems with subs.
We deal with the general contractors. We don't deal with subcontractors. We have to deal through the general. They deal with the sub. Sometimes they have many problems with subs, but we have to work through the general to have them take care of their subcontractors. So our contract and our work is always with the general.
Would you flip to the last slide in this presentation? I think slide 21.
You're talking about on the streets?
Yeah. I'm just curious why can this road, is that an alternative, either concrete or mill and overlay? And why do we have that option here?
It's a two-section repair.
Okay,
Yes.
so it's both, and then
Yes. Replace it, yes, there is a section, that's right, and I thank you for that. But yeah, we are doing the concrete repair, and then there is a mill and overlay section on this road, the way it's laid out, and we think that's the best cost-effective way to approach this roadway.
so that's not an either or, that's both.
Right.
Gotcha.
Robert,
Thank you.
is about half that road concrete and half of it asphalt? Because I'm looking at the map. Can you point to the part that's asphalt or the overlay part?
It looks like the lighter color probably is the asphalt.
Well, my pointer
Oh,
says
okay.
it's enough today, it's fine, covered. And I'm not sure I can, Gerald, but I know that we have 850 feet, and the mill and overlay will be
McKinley is just west.
pretty reasonable cost, but the concrete, of course, requires, it's a little more expensive, but has a much longer life.
Yeah.
Longer life. And also, it also includes putting sidewalks, we'll put sidewalks along at least one side of this road in front of me.
Now, Robert, go back to the complete list.
Is that for the school where the project location is?
Just west of Cleveland. That's McKinley's right.
Yeah, this was here. Is this a list in order of
In the corner.
condition or how?
This is the list that was provided in discussion with Public Works based on what they felt was priorities. Yes, this is the priority list that we were presented with.
It's generally in order of condition, but I can tell you from experience, and so you could tell me too, I've been out on some streets we've fixed, and the very next street over, I've wondered, well, is the street may be worse than that one. So it's somewhat subjective. We try to do the best we can,
Well, and the
but
way,
it's subject to
sorry.
reordering.
Well, and the way it was explained to me one time too was that sometimes the surface doesn't look great, but the underneath construction is good. Whereas some of the other ones, the top looks good, but it's crumbling underneath. So we can't always see
That's
by looking
correct.
at it what the condition
And
is.
Robert could talk about reconstruction. These are all going to be reconstructions, right, Robert?
Yes.
Which means the road's completely gone. There's no way to salvage
Very
it.
expensive.
No good
Yes, we
way.
will go and restabilize the base in most all cases, put PC concrete pavement down, which gives at least about a 75-year life out of that project.
Do we make any decision based on amount of traffic on that street, or, I mean, is there anything that play into the decision? I'm just curious, one street in particular I'm familiar with, that is just almost non-existent, is that number 15 there, the Cambridge Street from 4th to 7th.
Where's that?
That's out there going to Plants and Plenty, you go down that street,
Oh,
yeah. But that street is,
oh gosh.
it's just one hole right after another, virtually. Yeah. And I don't know how much traffic's on that street. I mean, it's a reasonably busy street, probably busier than just most residential streets are, because of
There are-
the businesses that are located there.
There are some consideration that we do not have traffic counts on all these streets. We don't have the traffic count is available, so it's real hard in some cases to address the amount of traffic. So it's basically based on street conditions and from the operating department's experience in driving those streets, what they see in traffic and what they see in
Well, if
demand.
anybody's been out on Cambridge recently, they would know what I was talking about.
What is 5,801,000, what is in the budget, Robert?
1,500,000 is in the budget.
5,801.
$1,500,000 is in the budget, and the far right column is the selected running total. And although the second and third item are transposed, so get to West Indiana from Adams to Jefferson, the first three would be a total of $1,500,000 based on our estimate. I think we will get a little better bids, and we'll be able to take in another street or two, Harvard and Jackson perhaps, but we'll prepare, our plan is to prepare plans and take bids on those 7 streets, and then, come back with your recommendation on awarding what streets we have funds to cover. So the budget's $1,500,000, and actually the go down to West Indiana, that would be, our estimate is that's $1,500,000 right there, first 3 streets. But we want to take bids on the other 3 streets in case we have additional funds, and also gives a little flexibility that if we get some better bids here than up there, we can get our full $1.5 million project awarded.
It also allows us to design those streets. So even if the bids don't and the budget doesn't allow us to do all of them, we have the designs ready for when we have money. So if we have more money coming up this year than we thought, that'd be a good suggestion to probably appropriate more money for streets. We would already have them in the design process, able to do them and not be starting from scratch.
Can we back up to the arterial street program? The far east chunk of Broadway, is that contract already awarded? Is that?
Yes, 16th to 21st, I believe that's already.
Okay.
I think it's already on the list, or it's been awarded.
Okay.
16 to University.
Mhm.
No, that's in this year's program we're putting design together. It'll probably be both sides reconstructed
It's in the budget.
over next summer.
But we did get the
Okay.
water lines moved.
Yeah, water,
But so the construction work is gonna be next summer?
right, it'll probably be in the spring, we'll probably award that contract. And with the asphalt work, we'll start late spring with the work.
Is the bridge, and the bridge will be done as part of all that?
The bridge is going to be.
Box culvert?
Yes, the box culvert structure is
What?
be replaced this year too, and that, we're doing that over the winter. Yes,
Oh.
that's
The
right.
creek?
Yeah, it'll be done over the winter, so it'll be ready for
Okay, so the box culvert will be done before the road?
Right.
Okay,
the, yeah,
got it.
At 6.
that's ready to go to.
It's
19-ish.
well, it's actually Lakeview or Lakeside.
Right, a block over
Street.
from your,
Yeah.
where you live. Okay.
And that box culvert contract, we'll also have that sidewalk in on the south side of the road.
Okay,
So that block is taken care of as well.
great.
I also like to mention that when the streets are put in, so many times people talk, down on the city, but when the streets are installed and put in, most of the customers do receive a free approach, on their driveways.
Yeah.
I've noticed that, and I think that's a good deal, that they do receive a free approach. So that's a couple of grand that they don't even have to pay for. So I think that the city of Enid should be known for something good.
Yeah.
Yes, we do, we typically include the
Wherever we can
driver
get
to
it.
the right of way.
Yeah.
Because, just for the inconvenience, have to deal with the project.
Yeah.
And that does increase costs, but it's not a cost that's directed towards the customer. So that's something that they're getting for free. So that's really nice. So a little bit of that water bill money, they're getting something back on it.
Most of them think they're paying taxes and they don't think it's free.
Yes, we do want to complete these projects and make them look like complete finished projects, much like State Street was done out here. When we're done, we want to make look, not do half the work or leave some things out so they look like half-finished projects. We do try to pursue it and design these things so they look, when they're done, they look like complete finished projects. And fitting for the community and the residents.
Cool.
Any other questions? Robert, thank you.
Numbers are
Thank you.
interesting. We always have to spend money on these, that never broke. There it is.
We are adjourned. We'll meet upstairs at 6:30.
Thank you for joining us for the Enid City Commission study session. If you have any questions or comments, visit our website at enid.org.